Good morning, Composition 2. It has been a while since our last lecture together. I apologize for that, but the microphone replacement thing has not materialized. So today we're going to have a more intimate setup. This is more like what we do on Zoom, where I sit at my desk and I have my microphone here right beside me. Which is fine. I've never done it this way before. So you'll just have to, I hope it's just as interesting because part of the thing about Zoom is it's done live, so I can actually interact with you a little bit if we want to. But here it's just me sitting down. So, get your coffee or whatever. It's going to be us together for the next 20 minutes or so. Up to about 25 minutes, and I have some important things to say about how the class is going because I've finished sending out all the emails for grading your first piece of writing and going through the second one now because we have to catch up on all this. Midterm grades and assignments, checking assignments all should be sent out by this week. And I know I've promised these things before, but I'm serious this time. So you should have all gotten an email. If you didn't get an email commenting or giving you some piece of feedback in a grade, then please send me a message and I will fix that. But all of you, I have your grades recorded. So if you didn't get a piece of feedback, that's because I missed you somehow. Now, I think I will talk about the midterm stuff first, and then we'll talk about the article. I'm not going to give you any homework today. We have done 3 homework assignments, and I would like to, again, emphasize to you, because clearly some students have not quite figured it out yet, that there's a difference between the writing style in the textbook and the one that I want you to do for me because really I can't get my head around the idea of not doing an academic paper without an argument, because I was always told that's what academic papers are for. In Composition 1 and Composition 3, we have a different type of textbook, but nonetheless, the example paragraphs are normally not well suited for our purpose. The example paragraphs in the skill-based books, the Macmillan books, they are always too short. And the opposite is true in this class. The one that we read, that's a page and a half usually in the National Geographic font and typeset, it would be over 2 pages on a word processor. So I'm actually asking you to write less. Some people just wrote way too little, and so that's a problem. You have to follow the instructions. There is an example of what it should look like on the website. You just have to open up the file. You don't even have to download it, just open it up. And you can see how a title should be written. You should see what information should be in the top corner. People are still not doing those things. So, I mean, the format stuff is automatic. Look at my example. Put your information, your name, your student number, the date, at the top right corner. You don't even need to put my name there. I don't care, but normally you do. You put your professor's name. You have a title, and then you're supposed to be writing a single paragraph, a long paragraph. And at the beginning of that paragraph, you should follow normal paragraph writing structure. So there should be a topic sentence. So I'm going to add another page to the website this week that gives you an example, because I think this is one of the things that's better about writing in class and having a professor nearby, is that I can ask you to write a topic sentence or a statement or an argument. They're all basically the same thing. And I can just make you write it and practice, and I could walk around and check you as you do it and give you advice on how to change it and improve it. But that's not easy to do. I think it's something we can do in Zoom class, so we will, because we have a Zoom class next week. So that's what our Zoom class project is going to be, is to try and work on statements, because I can even split you up and go from group to group and check and see how your progress is. You don't even need to talk to each other because it's composition class, but I can split you up and I can talk to you as a small group, which I think gives you an opportunity to ask me questions. So anyway, I'm going to put some examples up for you to see. But essentially, there was a lot of people, especially with the origin of food, for whatever reason, that just chose a food and said, this is an interesting thing. I always wondered about the history. Here it is. And that was the paper. And there's no argument to that. That's just saying, oh yeah, I always wanted to know about coffee also. It's a very interesting thing just for its own sake. But let's just imagine that somebody wasn't necessarily going to agree with you that this is interesting. So you've got to come up with more of a reason than just it's important, or I like it, or this is interesting. Those aren't reasons unto themselves, you know. Those are sort of natural inclinations that people have. If you want to be persuasive, right? If you want to be a politician, or you want to be a lawyer, or you want to be even a journalist, right? All three of those people, when they say something, they need the audience, they need the readership to listen to them. And so they need specific reasons that make those people pay attention. The journalists, who might be to sell more newspapers or get more traffic on the website. The lawyer might be to defend their client, and the politician to get votes. But they all use the same strategy, which is coming up with a persuasive statement to get people to agree with them. And that's sort of the skill that we want to focus on most in academic writing, is this persuasiveness, this argumentation. So I'm going to save some of this discussion for the Zoom lecture, because I think it lends itself well to the Zoom lecture environment. So we will be talking about this next week, but just a heads up, that is one of the major things for people to work on. This is not a grammar class, and I've told everyone that grammar is not the most important thing, but there are major issues, primarily what I like to call word form, which is you're using the right word, but you're using it in the wrong form. That is a problem. If you use something as a certain part of speech, it should be a verb and it's a noun, or it's an adjective and it should be an adverb, or any of those combinations. It becomes confusing. And if you have conjugated your verb wrong, and it's not supposed to be a verb, that sentence tends to be interrupts the flow of the writing a lot. So those are two things that I would like everyone to consider. Obviously, basic sentence structure, capitalization, spelling, and punctuation are a given. There's even programs, most free programs and programs that aren't free, to fix your spelling for you. So there should be very few typos. I always suggest everybody write using a word processor in English rather than Hangul, because it's not built for that. It's built for writing in Korean, not for English. But it's your choice. Just saying, lots of these mistakes can just automatically be removed, so I shouldn't see any of them these days. It's not like you're using a pencil and you have to worry about how neatly you write or correct spelling or erasing everything. You can just fix your sentences as you go. So you should be able to do that, and if you can't, then you have to work on it. Paragraph structure is important too. We're not writing National Geographic articles here. So you shouldn't have paragraphs that are 2 sentences long or 3 sentences long like they do here. In 2000, Fiennes walked solo and unsupported to the North Pole, but he couldn't finish it because his sled fell through the ice. When he tried to pull the sled out of the water, some fingers on his left hand got frostbite. Later, to avoid surgery, he cut the top part of his fingers off himself. Now that's a shocking event, but it's just an event. There's no argument there. There's no topic sentence. There's no concluding sentence. So this is not what I want. I don't want you to write episodes of something because that's storytelling. And that's what we do in conversation class. In this class, you need to have a point at the beginning, and then those events are support. They're not supposed to be by themselves. So some of you are writing all these short little paragraphs that really aren't paragraphs at all. They need to be combined into longer paragraphs, or just combined all in. If it's 1 page or a page and a half, there's nothing wrong with you just doing 1 paragraph. Okay, so now let's tackle this second half of the chapter. The homework was very well done, I have to say. Also, the discussion and critical thinking sections, most of you have got it now. That's what I want. If you wrote a paragraph on your critical thinking questions and explained yourself in detail, that's what I want. Most of you, I even emailed a few people saying that's much better. So if you're still not doing that, well, I'm not going to keep assigning critical thinking questions every week, but I want you to remember that's what I want you to be able to do on the exam. So those of you who did your homework properly, that's a big advantage because you're studying for the exam when you do those questions. So here we have a guy. The title of the article is Fearless Fiennes. In 1984, the Guinness World Records called Runolf Fiennes the world's greatest living explorer. Since then, he has broken many records in world exploration. He was born in England in 1944, started his life of adventure in the 1960s. He is fearless and also uses his expeditions to raise money for charities. Fiennes, together with Charles Burton, went on the Trans-Globe Expedition, a 3-year expedition from 1979 to 1982. This is very recent. I was actually alive not briefly, but for the latter part of that 3-year journey. I was born in 1981. Don't do the math. During this time, they broke 3 records. They were the first to reach the North and South Poles, the first to cross the Antarctic and the Arctic Ocean by boat, and the first to go around the world on its polar axis. They had traveled 52,000 miles, or 83,686 kilometers, and as of 2014, no one else has done this. So they essentially did the Magellan trip, but instead of going around at a latitude, they went around longitude, like vertically. And they went all the way around the world, from the North Pole to the South Pole. Okay. This article is going to talk about qualities that he has. They're going to emphasize certain things. Fearless was the first one that they said. There's all kinds of different adjectives you can use to describe his behavior. He cut his own fingers off, so I guess he's tough or tenacious. Tenacious means refusing to give up. He's obviously a bit stubborn. You might say he's reckless, or what do you call somebody when they charge in without thinking? It's not really brave. I mean, it is brave, but if you think it's stupid brave, then you might say foolhardy or something like that. Reckless or foolhardy. So yeah, he had a heart attack and he was in a coma, and then he he did 7 marathons after that or something like that. Something ridiculous. So he's not a normal person. You can use good adjectives to describe him because it's so impressive. But unlike the previous example that we read, it was about Barrington Irving's dream to fly. The inspiration that Barrington was using was kind of to get other people to do it as well. I don't think Fiennes actually wants other people to do the same thing that he did. I mean, he's kind of like a Superman type individual. And at any point, his family has probably accepted what he likes to do, but he's an old man now, so he should probably stop. The question at the very end speaks to this issue. Why has the fearless Fiennes gone on these dangerous expeditions all of his life? He says he does it to raise money for charities. For him, it's his job, just like other people who work in an office 9 to 5. Now, he's also, I think he's wealthy as well. He's kind of independently wealthy. So this is a critical thinking part, as we usually do, is discuss motivations and underlying reasons for things. It's not as simple as just reading, what National Geographic says and just saying, okay, that guy's interesting. I admire him, and that's it. Obviously, to be able to do that stuff at all, you need to prepare yourself, and you don't just make money or have equipment automatically. If I tried to do this, I'd run out of money the first week, and it would never happen. I would have to do some fundraising or something, not just raise all the money and give it all away. He's in a position to take advantage of his, obsession, I would guess you would say, with extreme challenges. And it's not I would say it's not something that he wants everybody to imitate, right? He believes that he's got a mission, and he doesn't necessarily, for example, want his children to all grow up and be explorers and see if they can make it across the Antarctic and cut their own fingers off and then have a heart attack. These are not good things. It's a harsh life. Obviously, he's got this attitude, like he had a fear of heights, so he climbed Mount Everest, right? He ended up getting sick, but he climbed Mount Everest, not to the top, but it's dangerous enough as soon as you start that journey. I've heard lots of stories. I know people who have made it to, certain levels of Mount Everest, and you don't have to go to the top to be in danger. So he's done all kinds of things. The question at the end is really the question that I would like to see answered at the beginning. If you want to have that structure I was talking about, where the topic sentence is there at the beginning and you can know what the person's argument is, then you've got to answer that question. Why has the fearless Fiennes gone on all these dangerous expeditions all of his life? If that's the point of this article, then that shouldn't be a question at the end that leaves you hanging. This is what National Geographic does, though. As I said, they're not trying to persuade you. They're presenting you with the information. And at the end, they ask you, well, why is he doing it? My first answer is because he can, because he's from a wealthy country. He doesn't have money problems, and he's healthy. And he still got hurt, but he's healthy enough to overcome these obstacles. But most of us aren't. In fact, you have to be a very rare individual to have all of those things: good health, the personality, and the money. He has all three. So he's a very rare person, and most people shouldn't do this. This is the problem with everybody going to Mount Everest as a tourist, is that the only people who used to climb Mount Everest were real explorers and real mountain climbers. Now, there's people from Korea, there's people from Canada, there's people from Europe, and they go to Mount Everest and they say, let's climb Mount Everest, take me to the top. And it's pretty dangerous for the people who are experienced and know what they're doing when they're bringing beginners and amateurs and people who are not in great health up to the top. And there's been articles about this, not to mention the environmental damage that they do, but it's just risky. It's riskier when you're not an experienced climber or you're not in really good shape to try and climb the tallest mountain in the world. It's always been dangerous. So the wrong type of people are trying to go up there. They're just trying to get up to the top so they can say, I've been there. I've been to the highest point in the world. I understand that, but I'm not going to do it unless I train for it properly. But some people aren't doing that. They're just using their money to go there. So money and privilege has something to do with his situation. Obviously, the fact that he's doing it for charity is a good gesture. There's other reasons for doing stuff like this, like science. It doesn't seem to be the main reason in this case. Originally, a lot of Charles Darwin went on a scientific expedition. So did Captain Cook, who went by Australia. There's lots of exploration and expeditions that have been done in the name of science too. So you have to consider all of these things. As I mentioned in the course of this lecture, just by my casual analysis is, well, he might be one of those people who is like a thrill seeker, and he doesn't want to be safe. He doesn't want to be careful. He doesn't want to stay at home. He wants to go where the adventure is. And I think this has got to be a large part of it because, man, like he had a heart attack and he had to have heart surgery and he was in a coma and he cut his fingers off. All that stuff is pretty painful, and most people would say that's enough. But he wants to do, he had to learn to walk again and walk uphill, and then he learned to run again. And then he had to lower his blood pressure and get his heart rate down and everything. And, then he did 7 marathons. Like, this guy doesn't quit. He's just one of those people. His parents, well, he's pretty old, but his parents or his family, they're probably all given up and understand that he's not going to be passive, or he's not going to restrain himself. So they probably just accept that this is the way he lives his life. He's a thrill-seeking adventurer. So remember these things. I do really appreciate when students, I know you're working with language and you want to use good vocabulary and be descriptive, and you have to watch your grammar and all the other stuff, but the structural things really help other people follow what you say, and in the sense of content and how good your argument is, thinking critically and getting some good statements that you can defend logically is key to good academic writing. So I hope I've graded a bunch of the second piece of writing you did, and you're supposed to do a rough draft. There was a preparation phase to that too, and I think it helped. It looks like there's an improvement from some people's first assignment. So I'm looking forward to reading the rest, and you should receive a second email shortly to let you know how you did on the second one. We will do one more paper once I've given you more detailed feedback, and we have our Zoom lecture next week, and this is actually last week's video lecture. As you can see, this is a different style because I'm sitting at the desk, but it's the same content, it's the same professor. So hopefully it doesn't throw you off too much and you found this easy to listen to. And we can, catch up this week with another lecture, and my microphone should be here soon, I hope. It is an expensive microphone, and it's made in another country, so maybe that's why it hasn't come yet. I'm not sure. But anyway, it was on warranty, so I didn't have to buy a new one. I just get the old one back, or a new one to replace it, whatever they do with the after service. So thank you for sitting with me. Have a great day. I apologize for being late. Microphone issues. I guess I could have done this right away, but I was trying to wait until I could stand up. But I don't want to leave it any longer. So here's your lecture. This week's cyber lecture expires tomorrow night, Tuesday night. So there'll be a second lecture for this week coming in the next couple days. Hopefully standing up, but if not, I will be here like this again. So have a good day, and thank you for your effort. No homework due this week. That includes the second video lecture too. So don't panic that when you see the second video lecture that I'm going to ask you to do something. So we're going to take a week off, take a breath, and keep going next week when we do Zoom. Okay? So have a good week, and I'll see you. Actually, I think this class, is it next week or 2 weeks? I'll see you in Zoom soon, and certainly we will talk about the approach to building the argument in the topic statement before you do the third paper. Okay? So that's it for today. I hope you followed the lesson, and I will see you again very soon. Have a good day.